Hello, 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 all my favorite people. You know me, I'm Kylie at the Rebel Girls podcast, and today I have someone that you TikTokers might also be very familiar with, but I don't do the introductions here. So, Steph, could you please tell us where you are, what you do, and what your preferred pronouns are?
All right. So I'm Stephanie Flores, Super Steph, otherwise known on TikTok. I am here in San Antonio, Texas. I am a captain with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, and my preferred pronouns are she and her.
She, her. Thank you, Steph, so much for being here today. I am genuinely excited because anyone who's seen you on TikTok knows that you have the best transitions around. I don't know anyone who does them better.
I know quite a few people that do them better. I just try to I see some ideas on there, and then I'll just try and figure out how can I do this with a cowboy hat? How can I do this with a uniform? How can I make it my own, right? But I think what was really cool about TikTok was, it came about during 2020, when we were having a social distance, and it was kind of a way for us to all kind of still stay engaged and entertained. But for me, it's just a lot of fun trying to see how can I take that, level of video up and up and up, but then also still promoting positivity as well as, community engagement with law enforcement.
Yes, and that's what I love so much about your unique channel, and I'm really excited to talk to you about today. So, like you said, you're part of the sheriff's office. Excuse me. Tell us a little bit about that. Like, when did that all happen? Why'd you get involved?
So prior to becoming a deputy, I was actually in the club scene, very heavily into the gay club scene here in San Antonio, promoter for about 6, 7 years. And then, you kind of get to that point where you're like, what am I going to do about medical? What am I going to do about benefits? And, that growing up part, you kind of start looking around thinking like, man, I gotta figure something out. Went to college, did the whole thing, just had my own business. And then one day when I saw a friend of mine at one of my events, and she was a deputy, and she told me that I should try it out. So I did. And then it just went from there. But I just feel like being in the sheriff's office and then trying to, there's always kind of that rift between the LGBT plus community and law enforcement, right? And so it's like we can't be one, or we have to choose one side or the other. And I kind of try to blend those two together. And as the LGBT liaison for my sheriff's office, that was done in 2018. We do a lot of community engagement, and I really like to put out a positive vibe. And I think it's important to be reflective of your community, right?
Right. Oh, I love that so much. Now, before we get too far into it, because I have so many questions, especially what you said about kind of how to bridge the gap between
Mhm.
our community and the sheriff's office. This show really is all about how people come to be themselves, and to really give that story any justice, I always feel like it's so important to start out with people's roots. So here's a question I ask everyone, so you two have to answer it. But thinking about you, young you, I'm talking like really young you, 10-year-old you. What
Okay.
three emojis do you feel best describe that 10-year-old kid way back when?
Well, it's definitely going to be the kid with the hand up, right? I always had a bunch of questions. I was super excited. The next is a soccer ball. I played soccer, went to college to play soccer as well. And then, the robot flex. Not just the flex, but the robot
The
flex.
robot flex.
Mhm.
Can you tell me why we specified on the robot flex? Because that's a little different.
Because I feel like, you can be strong, but then it can still break. But with that robot, I mean, it's just, you can't break it.
You can't break it. I love
No.
it. Okay, so you grew up in Texas, correct?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
grew up in Texas. We're athletic. We're outgoing. Went eventually to become a club promoter. I'm so
Mhm.
curious though, because I mean, anyone who kind of knows America right now and American culture knows that Texas cannot be the most inviting of places to
True.
certain demographics of people. So I'm curious, as a kid or an adolescent, did you feel like there were any social pressures that you were facing that you had to overcome or kind of defy?
Yeah, I did. I think that we all kind of knew, right? My mom definitely tells me all the time, like, we knew, but we're just letting you figure it out, which is great. But the pray the gay away was a real thing. I remember being in bed as a young child, and in my I guess middle school to high school years, and thinking that if I just said, "Please God, don't make me gay," over and over and over, that it was going to go away, and it just didn't, right? So eventually you have to kind of find that moment. And I remember it specifically. I remember what the bathroom looked like, everything. But looking at yourself in the mirror, and you have to accept yourself before anybody else can. So that was a big thing for me, accepting myself, looking at myself in the mirror and saying, this isn't going away. So, you're gay, accept it, and kind of move on. And then it was about, acceptance from everyone else as well. So how do you do that? And I felt like a lot of people, or I saw a lot of people would kind of, make themselves smaller. And it was okay for the straight people to talk about their weekend and what they did together as a couple. So I felt like if you don't make it to where it feels like you're embarrassed by it, but yet you're proud of it, it's like calling it out before anybody else can. Well, my wife and I did this. And, then I dare you to say something negative.
Okay, Steph. So here you are, kid in Texas. You have accepted yourself and who you
Mhm.
are. So talk to me about the transition from like going to a point of praying the gay away to becoming this club promoter, and then later on taking on a really big leadership role
Yeah.
within your sheriff's department.
So, I mean, the only way that I can describe it is you have to look back on what things happened to you, and instead of complaining about things, are you going to make a difference? Are you going to take it by the horns, as we say here in Texas, right, and do something about it? So for me, I just wanted anybody out there thinking about joining law enforcement or thinking that they can't do something just because they're gay, right? We didn't have to fit into this box. We don't have to fit into the stereotypes. And we have money. We are successful. We are religious. We do care about our families. We're not at the club all night long. We actually have real careers. So I think that for me, I wanted to prove that and break that mold, but yet also, to these younger kids, give them a positive role model, somebody that doesn't fit into a box. I mean, I'm heavily tattooed. I'm a captain. I'm gay, I'm Hispanic. I mean, there's all kinds of things, but yet for the sheriff's office, and I have to really give them to that here in Texas. And with our sheriff, as you've seen on probably on the news, Sheriff Salazar here, right? He was at the DNC, but he is extremely progressive. And so out of when we created the LGBT or the liaison community program here at the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, the first liaison that he made was me, the LGBT liaison. So to give it to them for really pushing that narrative, right? Or putting it out there that it's okay. It doesn't matter. And so, yeah, I mean, just looking back and thinking, I didn't have a role model, right? There was no Ellen. There was no, Elward was a little ways off. So you just kind of had to figure it out on your own. But now we're providing them some examples of people that don't have to fit into the mold, right?
Yeah, that representation is so incredibly important. I think growing up in a very similar time, when Xena came out, I was like,
Oh, yeah.
everyone knew, but we didn't really talk about it. And then when the L word came out, it was like totally, it changed everyone's world because all of a sudden there were people like you
Mm-hmm.
in front of you on the screen, and you didn't have to feel quite as alone, right?
Correct.
That's the idea. Okay, so here you are. Let's talk a little bit about law enforcement, because I think this is a really good opportunity to help us bridge the gap.
Yeah.
Because I do think that there is sometimes a negative connotation about being part of the LGBTQ community and the potential interactions that you could have with law enforcement. So,
Yeah.
can you talk about that from your experiences and like anything that you feel like society or people in our community should know to make things a little bit better or safer or just more enjoyable all around?
Okay. So as for my interaction with the gay community as a law enforcement officer, is that what you want me to talk about a little bit?
Either from that direction or just being a part of the LGBT community, maybe even prior to being in law enforcement.
Hmm. So, I think another reason why I joined is, being a club promoter and seeing the heavy police presence in the gay neighborhood, as we called it, right? We have a certain amount of a strip where we have all the gay bars, and you see the police presence, and it was almost like cherry picking, right? You kind of knew what they were doing, waiting for 2 o'clock to run out so that everybody that had to drive away, the DWIs were high. And, just overall, the just kind of disdain, right, for the community. Well, that's what it felt like. Um, so then when I joined and, I just being me and who I am, I'm just gonna, be out there. And I mean, I wasn't like, look at me, I'm gay, and hi, my name is Steph, I'm gay. It's not like that, but it's definitely like I'm not gonna hide it, and it's pretty obvious. But I think for my interaction with the community, I think that sometimes people can think that we do it because we want to be men and we want to do what the guys are doing, but that's not what it was. And I'm a captain, and all the people underneath me, except for one person, two or three, are male. And so, it's so crazy to see like how much trust and respect they have for me, as their captain, and being a female, being LGBT, they know I'm married to my wife for what now, 10 years. But I don't know, like I really believe that it's what you put out, right? How you put it out there, how people are going to react to you. And if you allow it, you can't allow people to say things and think they're just going to get away with it. I call quite a few people out all the time. Like, you're
No.
not going to say something to me and walk away.
I I have the utmost confidence that is the case. I do not
Yeah.
believe there's any walking away from you on that.
Yeah.
No, 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 definitely not. Okay, so let's talk about those social barriers a little bit. Maybe what year exactly or about did you first enter law enforcement? I can't remember if you
2010.
2010. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's I mean that's girl, that was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
We're getting up there. Okay,
Yeah.
so I know the world has changed a lot in 15 years. What
Mhm.
has been your experience in that change? Maybe whether it be as it relates to a woman being a part of law enforcement or being part of the LGBT community in law enforcement. Is there
Yeah.
anything noticeable that's different?
I think Pride
Hmm.
is was my absolute favorite. This past year was crazy. Like I guess Sheriff, he called it like my Super Bowl, right? He was like, "You're Super Bowl right now." So being there and actually having people come up to you and saying, "I came to the Pride Parade specifically because I wanted a picture with you," that's crazy. So you know, people commenting saying I was gonna go, I couldn't go. I'm so sad I didn't go because I wanted to see you in the parade. I mean, I had the confetti cannons and all this stuff, right? But it was so cool for them to just be cheering when they saw you, because again, not only are you someone that's representing, but we're having fun out there. We're engaging with the community. We weren't just walking like soldiers in the parade. We were, shaking hands, giving hugs, and taking pictures. And it was great. I think that, to see that drastic difference, right? Before, where it was like law enforcement shouldn't be in the Pride Parade, to thank you for this particular agency being in the Pride Parade, and then to I only went to the Pride Parade to see you. Like, that's crazy.
Right. Right. That is a huge
Yeah.
change. And I think really commendable. I don't know if many people are aware that there was such a presence
Hmm.
in your Pride Parade or others perhaps in your state where people really are getting involved. I think a lot of states have like this bad rep, like Texas or a West Virginia or whatever you might like. There's such this idea that that state is going to be a certain type of way. And that's not necessarily
Yeah.
true. There's still a
Yeah.
lot of good people doing good things. Right.
Yeah. And it's again, you have comments on a lot of my Pride videos from people saying, get back to work. That is work.
Yeah.
We are, it's
Yeah.
about bridging the gap in the community. And we're on our time off and we're going to do what we want to do. And if you have a problem with it, then join law enforcement and make a difference. I don't know. But other than that, just be quiet.
Right. Just again, if you're gonna say something, you better be ready to back it up.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about the day in the life of our new favorite officer. So you do a lot of community work, a lot of community
Mhm.
outreach. I know you do some training. Could you maybe walk us through what it is that you do like every day?
So, I get up around 4 in the morning. I do my workout. Yeah. Because I don't know where the day's going to take me. I don't know what time I'm coming home. I don't know what's happening or where we're going to be called to, whatever. But what I do now is operations, right? But I can be pulled anywhere. It's basically what I'm saying. Operations, it's a very broad, job
It's like
title, right?
management.
Yeah. What is your job description? There's no. So it's a way to catch all. So I will go to work, get with my lieutenants, get with my corporals, and see where we're at with the cadets or the new officers, right? And so we train them, but we train them in a way to where I don't know if you've seen the video where I learned all the cadets' names.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a real thing. The last class we just had was 15, and then we started a new one last week, 32. And so I do that not for two reasons, right? Number one, I want them to feel like they matter, right? To me, if anybody, because I'm the captain. Um, Secondly, match my energy. If I can learn your names, then you can learn these codes. You can learn these policies. You can learn, what I'm teaching you. But if you're not going to be engaged and you don't want to match my energy, then you can leave as well, right? Because you're going to respect my time and you're going to respect me as a person, but I'm respecting you as a human to learn your name, that you matter. Because people don't quit places, they quit people.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes, they do. Actually, 57% of the time, it's been documented. Fun fact: 57%
Mm-hmm.
of the time, people leave jobs because of their boss or because of the leader. So that's really profound that you are taking the time to show them that you care so early on. Now,
Yes.
you get these. So you have cadets. You have
Mm-hmm.
classes of cadets. Is it annual? Like, what does that look like? Just in case anyone who might be listening,
Ooh,
they're like, huh, maybe I want to sign up for this.
yeah, bcsocurse.com. But we have classes about every 2 to 3 weeks. Right now, it's just ramping up on. It's been crazy. This is one of our highest years of hiring, but the retention level, due to us doing this new reality-based training, right, with them, being the ones that are working with them out there, we come and we show them, really what their job really is and how to do it, right? The way to speak, the way your presence, your body language, all of it. But what's been happening is our retention rate has skyrocketed. We went from, I think, like about a 69% retention to 92%. It's
Wow.
crazy. It's crazy. So just to watch those statistics, right, is awesome. But I just asked a couple of guys that take days off from their week to come and help with this training, right? And I asked them, really, this is a true question. Why do you do it? You don't have to. I don't require it of you. You're literally putting your own vacation time to come and help me with this training. And they said, well, this one person told me one time, if you're gonna complain about it, then do something about it. And I was like, I said that. And they was like, I know you said that. So it matters, but they're listening, right? Don't complain about it unless you're willing to do something about it. So they were complaining about the not the quality of training that was being given, right? So I told the officers, if you're going to complain about it, then do something about it. Otherwise, then be quiet, right? So that's what they did.
Well, another case of showing up when they need to show up. I love
Yeah.
that. Okay, Steph. So you've been on the force for 15 years. That is a long time, and I imagine you must have a story or two. So I love a good story. So could you please share with us at least one of your favorite memories of being from the force, and whatever you pick the topic?
You know, I guess making captain, right? You go from starting out in this agency to having people, hazing was a real thing. It was a real thing. And if I had been lesser, I wouldn't have made it because they were telling me that I wasn't going to make it. I didn't belong here, go back to the clubs, all that stuff, right? Um, you're not cut out for this. And then for someday, and I remember saying someday that person's going to call me captain and they're not going to be anywhere near my rank. And so it was just something I manifested, 14 years ago to this moment. And then for, not only to make captain, to make number one on my list, and by far, right, was crazy. But my response when I was called and congratulated, right, on my number one spot, I was like, the question was, did you ever doubt yourself? And I said, absolutely not. I manifested this 12 years ago or 14 years ago. So, because I've been a captain for 2 years. And I did. It's just, I don't think there's a question about whether, I was telling my wife this the other day, I don't think there was ever a question of whether she or I were ever going to be successful. It's just, what do you put in front of us? And then we're going to take it and we're going to make it. Right. So, her and I, that's our motto, our mindset, right? FAFO, right? We always say that.
Yeah, I love that. Well, congratulations on being captain. Now, are you the only female captain in your?
No, and that's the craziest part also about our agency is that when you look at the rankings in our agency, I would say, oh my gosh, good 50% or more are female. we have 3 female chiefs. I can't even name the amount of captains. I mean, it's I
Wow.
right now there's 5 in my head right now, including me. And then, you got to look at lieutenants, females. I mean, I'm looking in my mind in the room I was just in on Wednesday. And I mean, I think there was 3 males sitting at the table, and it was like 16 of us. And that was a captain's and lieutenant's meeting.
Wow, I'm honestly beyond shocked right now.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That is, you don't hear about that in any industry. Women having that many places at the table. Wow. Well, kudos to your department. That's really incredible. Now,
It
talk to
is.
me about you guys are. You said you're going through a big hiring push now.
Mhm.
Could you talk to us? What do you look for when you're looking for someone potentially to become a sheriff or something of that sort?
Well, so as right now, the sheriff's office, they hire at 18, but you have to be 20 and a half to go to law enforcement. So, the kids that are coming in, or as I say, kids, right? I mean, because it's crazy. I mean, I'm teaching these guys, and I mean, I literally could be they could be my kids. It's crazy,
Yep.
but I don't have any kids. I don't have any kids. But back to that. I mean, they can come in and they go into the sheriff's office on the detention side. So they'll work in the jail until 20 and a half when they decide to test to go to law enforcement. But other than that, they can go either side. I always encourage everybody to start out inside the facility because it teaches you a lot about, people's mannerisms and you're constantly surrounded by, criminals, right? They're all inmates, but I think it's awesome. And I mean, you don't have to have any experience because they teach you everything.
That's really great. That's really great.
Mhm.
And remind me, you mentioned an email or a website that people could reach out to if they were interested in learning more. What is that again?
bcsocareers.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So for all of our viewers, especially women who maybe want to become captain one day, you saw it here. You should
Yeah.
check
And
out
we
the
don't have an
website.
age cutoff. There's no age cutoff whatsoever.
Really?
Yeah. I just we had a male and a female in the last class. One was 46 and one was 47.
Wow.
And
Oh,
we've had 60-year-old join as well. So
that's really cool. Really,
yeah.
I'm so impressed by the inclusivity that you've talked about in your department. It's really,
Mhm.
really quite impressive.
Yeah.
All right, Steph. Well, we're getting to the tail end of this. I really appreciate you sharing your insights on just what it's like to do what it is that you do and the way that your department uniquely does it. Now, my big question now is for someone who is considering either becoming an officer or who is trying to live as their more authentic self as part of the LGBT community. What is
Mhm.
one piece of advice you think you would have valued from in your younger years that you'd like to pass on to them?
I think it would have been, just be yourself, right? I grew up in a family, a divorced family, young, 70 years old. My parents divorced, and come to find out, they were never really, really happy, right? Kind of just got married to get out of the house back then, that's what they kind of did. And I just remember telling my mother when I came out was, I don't want to waste any time. I don't want to look back and think, man, I should have done this 10 years ago, or man, I should have really said how I really felt. And so I just encourage anyone that is, I don't know, just to do exactly what you feel and be your authentic self, like you said, but have no regrets and no apologies for it. You are who you are, and I get a lot of people saying that I'm super intimidating. I can't change who I am. I can't change the way I talk. I can't. It's just the way I am. But I'm gonna accept it and make sure that I am exactly, how can I say it, like I I walk the walk, I talk the talk, right? And
Yeah.
so do exact whatever you want to do it to, I don't know, just as you would. I don't even know how to describe it anymore. Like, it's just be who you want to be. Have no regrets. That's all I can say. My As I told you about my mom, I'm not trying to put them down. I just feel like there was a lot of time wasted that she's not going to get back, right?
Right, right. Well, folks, I think that Steph just summarized it the best. In order to live your happiest life, sometimes it does require you to do it unapologetically and without regrets. Steph,
Hey,
thank you so much for sharing the time with us today. We genuinely appreciate you being on the show. And until next time, everyone, keep being the rebels I know you are.